This is the daily message for July 27th. Today we're going to continue working with the idea of sensitivity and specificity and conditional reasoning. So on Friday's work, the very first thing I had you look at was conditional reasoning, and then I introduced you to this vocabulary of sensitivity, specificity, false positives, and false negatives. The first worksheet you're going to work on today is going to show you how those two ideas tie in together. When we go to calculate sensitivity and specificity rates, the easiest way to do that is to see those things as conditional probabilities. And so, like I said, that's what that first worksheet is going to have you work on. The next work is going to deal with what is called Bayes' rule, and it's going to introduce Bayes' rule, and it's also going to introduce some new notation. This module is difficult for students because, one, we introduce a lot of new vocabulary that you've probably never heard of before. And the other is that we introduce notation that you may have not seen before. You want to make sure as you go through this work to do two things. One, you want to learn the vocab as you go along. You don't want to wait until the very end and try to learn all the vocab at once. It's going to make it much more difficult than if you just take the time now to really understand what the vocabulary is saying and then move forward. The other thing I really recommend doing is to keep kind of a cheat sheet next to you as you go. So, for example, you learned 4 new vocabulary words on Friday. Like I said, the sensitivity, specificity, false positive, and false negative. Have yourself a sheet where you write down what sensitivity is and write, the definition next to it, and the same for the other 4. And then the new vocab that you learned today, just have a running list of vocab that you can constantly be looking back and forth to. Otherwise, every time you go to do this, you're going to be digging through your notes and having to find it again, whereas just having a nice, call it a Module 3 cheat sheet, whatever you want to do, have that next to you so you're not constantly having to go back and look through these definitions. So like I said, today we're going to work more with this idea of conditional reasoning, tying it in with sensitivity and specificity. And you're going to also look at something that's called Bayes' rule and Bayes' theorem. Now today's work is going to be a little bit harder because there is so much new stuff. So I really want to emphasize that you need to try to finish this work today just to give yourself lots of time. Because if you wait to do this work until an hour or two before it's due, you're not going to have time to ask questions on it, and you may run out of time to do the material because this probably will take you a little bit longer. So as always, if you have questions, feel free to use the discussion board, and I will be more than happy to answer.